Hi, my name is Westin, and today I'm going to tell you how to identify the hardness of a rock. So as a geologist, it's important to know how to identify an unknown rock. One step that can help you identify the rock is to determine the rock's hardness. Once you determine the rock's hardness, this can help narrow down the possibilities of the rock that you have. So today we're going to be using a basic principle that a harder object will scratch a softer object, and a softer object will not scratch a harder object. So in geology, we've come up with a scale called the Mohs hardness scale, which tells the hardness of certain objects and rocks. This scale goes from 1 to 10, with 1 being the softest and 10 being the hardest. And so you can use some objects which you know the hardness to help determine the hardness of a rock. So we have my fingernail, which has a hardness of 2.5, a penny, which has a hardness of 2.9, a knife blade, which has a hardness of 5.5, and a streak plate, which has a hardness of 6.5. And obviously we have two unknown rocks here, which I do not know the hardness to. And so the first step to find out the hardness of a rock is to scratch your fingernail on the rock. As you can see, my fingernail does not scratch the rock, which means that the rock is harder than my fingernail, which means it's harder than 2.5. The next step is to try to scratch the rock with the penny. As you can see, the penny does not scratch the rock, which means the rock is harder than the penny, which means it's harder than 2.9. Next step, carefully scratch the rock with a knife blade. As you can see, the knife blade scratches the rock, which means the knife blade is harder than the rock. This means that this rock has a hardness in between 5.5 and 2.9. So next, we'll try to determine the hardness of this rock. So first, take your fingernail and try to scratch the rock. As you can see, the fingernail does not scratch the rock, which means the rock is harder than the fingernail. Next, try to scratch the rock with the penny. Once again, the penny does not scratch the rock. Next, take your knife blade and carefully scratch the rock. As you can see, the knife blade scratches the rock, which means the rock is once again in between 5.5 and 2.9. So obviously, using these steps, you can help identify an unknown rock's hardness, which then can help you identify the rock. Thank you.